Hello and welcome to PhDear Diary. My name is Andy Salkeld and this is my video blog during my PhD at Leeds Beckett University. We are about 3 months in, and if you've been paying attention, everything's kind of leading up to what's called the confirmation of registration. And last week I had just finished my first draft. And this is it's somewhere between 3,000 and 6,000 words. And it basically gives kind of background to what you're planning to do, how you're planning to do it, and why you're planning to do it. However, because of the way I've kind of learned, what I've learned as I've kind of gone through business, gone through life, I did this in the reverse order. So I started out with why, moved on to how, and then described what, which is a very powerful tool when it comes to getting people's attention and getting them to buy into what you're doing. And this was kind of started by, I believe it was Simon Sinek that kind of led it, which is in his book, Start With Why. And the reason it's so powerful, and the reason it's so important when we're talking about things like this, is if you explain why you're doing something, and people agree with you that why you're doing this is an important cause, then it doesn't really matter how you do it or what you're doing. They still agree with the why, and and then what you're doing is kind of just in the background. It's almost like ticking the boxes. It's like, this is why it's important. And it's why you'll hear in many of these conversations, in many of these videos, I always start with, why am I doing this? And I tie everything back to, why am I looking at organizational financing and individual psychological outcomes? And it's not just because, sorry, I've got an itchy nose. It's not just because I'm an accountant and a psychologist. It's because finance is pervasive. Finance is everywhere in businesses, in organizations. Finance touches all parts of the business and therefore touches everyone within the business. And people are finding it harder. Day in, day out, life is getting harder. And as an accountant, as someone who has led finance teams, as someone who has been a part of finance teams, as someone who has been involved in all of this, I want to understand if what I am doing on a day-to-day basis or in my life is having a positive or negative effect on other people within the business. So, prime example, if I am constantly chasing people for budgets or kind of month-end analytics or anything like this, this is something that happens day in, day out with regards to finance. There is always numbers, there is always targets to hit, there is always kind of timesheets to fill in and all these sorts of things. Or if I am stressed in finance because I have a deadline, what does that do to other people? Because my belief is it probably will. It will impact people if they see a stressed finance team concerned about cash, concerned about money, then they are going to feel worse in themselves and in their job. And that's why I'm looking at this. That's why it matters, because I think we can do more. I think the way we run finance and the way finance is integrated into business and the way businesses are structurally financed. So this is things with regards to, say, private equity or debt arrangements, anything like that. All these things have an impact. And I think the way that's done and what that does to individuals and organizations is having an impact on the people within them. And I've seen that in various research papers about how the mergers and acquisitions are the bane of mental health of the employees. We've seen that with, I can't remember the author, but there's a paper about it that basically correlated all mergers and acquisitions and then all the kind of health impacts of employees using 2 databases in, I believe, Sweden. And that's pretty big. But that's kind of one-off finance, things that happen every so often. Whereas what I'm looking at is, what about the day-to-day finance? What about the boring finance that happens every day, every week, every month? And how is that shaping organizations? And how is it shaped by organizations? And I always find it really important to remember the why. And like, just from looking at the kind of personal side of things, like, I have experienced burnout, I have experienced stress, I have mental illnesses, and I have seen people have all the similar things. And if I could understand how my role as someone in finance impacts that, then perhaps I can create a better life, a better culture, a better environment for other people within the organization. And because no one has looked at it, no one has kind of considered it, and so on. So we just don't know right now, and that's why I'm excited to look at it. And with regards to the process of doing the PhD, I finished my first draft. I reviewed it on Monday. I re-reviewed it on Tuesday, because I always believe you need to kind of look at things fresh. And yes, it was a bank holiday. I still read a document. It's fine. I'm just used to kind of doing what I need to do. And then I sent it over to my supervisor, who's going to review it this week, or maybe next week, ahead of our meeting on Tuesday. So that'll be my first kind of, here's what I want to do, here's why I want to do it, here's my thoughts behind it. He'll come back with a load of suggestions, a load of feedback, and be like, okay, cool, this seems fine. You've clearly done the work, you've clearly done this, or you need to do more work here, you need to do this, but this is enough to discuss, and so on. Great, like, we're going to get somewhere in this. Then what I will do is I will make any amendments necessary, and that will be submitted to the confirmation of registration meeting ahead of May 16th, which is my actual meeting date. And what I did after that was I took a couple of days off, because I've been working hard. I have done all this, and it is kind of an Easter short week, and I just desperately needed a break and to sort some things out around the house and to sort various bits out. I still did a bit of reading here and there, but I just wanted to take some time away to refresh myself. And sometimes this is one of the hardest things to actually do in business life, is to actually say, you know what, I actually do need a break now. I need time to myself. I need time to do what I want to do, and so on. And it's an important thing that I've learned over the years, is that sometimes I push myself too hard, and sometimes I do not give myself enough of a break. I wanted to give myself that break this week, whilst I'm waiting for review back, whilst I'm waiting to kind of progress and prepare for the meeting. Next week, I am going to start turning my COR written document, which is about 5,500 words, just into a very short form PowerPoint that I can kind of put up on screen and say, right, this is what I've come down to. This is where I think it matters. And this is why it matters. This is why it's important. This is how I'm going to do it. And this is what I'm going to look at. And that's going to, again, these are important skills that anyone who is working in business can learn, is about how to articulate what you're doing succinctly, how to articulate it not only in written form, but also in presentation form, because what you say and how you say it really matters. And the shorter and more succinctly you can express your ideas to people, the better they understand it and the more accepting they are of it. Because just they feel, one, a lot more confidence in you because you're not, you're certain. You are not unsure. You are able to just do what is needed. And that gives them confidence in your ability to deliver what you are proposing. And two, it is incredibly respectful of people's time. And respect for time is one of the most important things that no one ever talks about, yet matters more than anything else in business, really. If you do not show respect for people's time, then they will dislike you. If you show respect for it, and you finish meetings early, you let people get off and do what they need to do, you're never late, you're always keeping things going to kind of, you're never missing deadlines, all of that. If you respect time, people respect you, and so on. And it is such a hard skill to learn, particularly for those that are inexperienced in it and that haven't practiced it. But it's one of the things that I value greatly the more and more I have seen the world, and the more and more I've seen business and the way everything works, is those people that respect time earn my respect a lot more, and so on. So they won't ask for things that don't matter. They won't have meetings for the sake of having meetings. They will just let your time be your time unless it is kind of essential that they have your time. And things like that always get me thinking about the kind of the bigger scale picture, where I always talk about time being one of two resources in the world, time and energy. Time is like essentially finite. I mean, in theory, it's infinite, but at the same point, our lifespans are finite until something changes there. So having respect for the one thing that you truly have limit over is very important. So anyone that's listening to these or watching, please respect people's time. It really does matter, and it really does make a difference, not only to them, but to you, and so on. So what have I been doing with my time off? And kind of just relaxing a bit. Well, it's been a bit of just sorting things out. I am preparing for my first Warhammer 40,000 tournament that I've ever played in. That's occurring at the end of May. I have played in various kind of card game events and so on over the years. I've often done quite well. Never made it to, say, top 8 in the UK, but I have been kind of top 32 in some games, top 64, 128 in others. I do not expect to do well at this, but it's something that, since I picked up the hobby, I've wanted to get prepared to go to an event and so on. But we'll see how it goes and everything like that, because it's a much more complex event and the rules are a lot less defined. And so when I say that, they are just as well defined, but there becomes there's almost a social contract involved in them, because measuring distances on a tabletop without precision measurements from computers and without and with kind of like considering line of sight, and there's almost this kind of I trust you if you trust me aspect to it that doesn't come with other card games where they are very defined and you can almost rigorously plot out things. In things like Warhammer, it's very much a closest best guess sort of effect, and you almost play by intent rather than playing by the rules, because you say, well, this is what I'm intending to do, but to do it to the precision that the game would require me to do is way too much effort. So this is my intention. Please respect the intention, not the reality on the board. And UK events are notoriously Shark Tanks. So I'm very much like, okay, well, I'm not going to do well, but I'm going to practice what I know. I'm going to make sure I know my stuff well enough. And then I'm just going to play my best and enjoy a weekend away. And so that's what I've been preparing for. I've been getting all my little badly painted models ready. And I've now just kind of finished that. So now that's some stress gone. And it's just been nice to take some time to do those sorts of things and to calm down from the busyness of preparing a big document like this. But I'll be back at it next week. I'll be getting prepared, and it will, and kind of things will ramp up. But that's where I am. I believe the Mythic Dungeon Invitational starts tonight, which is it's a kind of WoW event where they speedrun dungeons. And I always find these really fascinating to watch. They are way above my skill level, but they are still fascinating to watch. And I just enjoy that kind of environment. Time pressure always excites me. I also think it's completely unnecessary, but it adds excitement to things. And yeah, so that's kind of where we are with everything. It's been a very quiet week. Not a lot has happened. But we have submitted the document, and we shall be moving on and figuring things out next week. So hopefully next week when I'm back here, I'll have some more things to say that are relevant to the actual PhD and to the actual, like, what am I doing? And I'm slowly gearing up in my head so that once I'm through the confirmation of registration, then I can start publicly talking about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, how I'm doing it, etc., and how people can get involved, and whether they want to get me into talk, whether they want their business to be involved in it, so that they can get kind of a snapshot of where their people are with regards to their business and so on. So we will figure that out as we progress, but that's kind of where my thought process is right now. And generally, it's okay. I'm feeling good in myself. I've been to the gym 4 times this week, so I'm happy with that. I will go again today, and that is about it. So thank you very much for tuning in, everyone, and I wish you a good weekend, and I'll speak to you next week. Goodbye.